Hello, welcome to Hoaxie Gardens and Homestead. Here in Texas, we have been getting a lot of rain. Through the month of May, there were just a few days that we did not get rain. That helps some things and it hurts some things. But that's some of the things that happen when you're gardening, and you have to be able to adapt to the weather. And so this year, things have been a little different, and we've had to replant a lot. The rain really did a number on the tomatoes and the beans. Most of our beans just went to mush, and I had to replant. Now, the tomatoes seem to be taking hold, and the beans are starting to produce. The squash are starting to grow. The sweet potatoes are growing. We lost a lot of our potatoes. Some of them went to mush, although we did still get a good harvest. The ones that were in the raised bed did better than the ones in the ground because of the rain. The raised beds drained better than the ground. So that's something to think about. If you're in a rainy area, you can grow potatoes if you grow them above the ground or in a container. A lot of people grow potatoes in the container, so that's something to think about. Now, the tomatoes, a lot of them, some of them just rotted away. Some of them were just really slow to grow. We did take some and put them in pots because we just didn't know what the weather was going to do. And so the ones in the pots are doing awesome. The ones in the ground that are left are starting to take hold. So we will have tomatoes this year. We just had to replant and had to really baby them. Now, because we have gotten a lot of rain, there's something that if you too are having that issue, which a lot of the U.S. is this year, one thing you need to think about is that when you have a lot of rain at one time, it will strip the minerals right out of the ground. And so you need to be fertilizing more than you normally do. The fish emulsion and the kelp, get that out and get that going around. Calcium is something that your tomatoes are really going to need. I save the eggshells from my chickens and I grind them up after cleaning them. I grind them up to a fine powder. That way they're easy to access. If you just crumble them up on the ground or in the ground, you're really not going to get that much calcium from those eggs. You really need to grind them up, get those microbes really small, and that way they'll be able to access that calcium. So something for you to think about if you're going through what I'm going through with a lot of rain. Now, we've had a couple of days here where it didn't rain, but it's cloudy again, and we're going to get like 3 or 4 days of rain. We had 2 weeks straight where it rained. And our garden is on an incline like this, and we've done different things, different swells and things like that to kind of capture water as it goes down so it doesn't all just pool into one area. But we do still have an area that takes in a lot of rain, and that's an area where I have normally planted my tomatoes, but this year with the excess rain, it hasn't been a good thing. So that may need to be something that I need to think about. But I thought that we would just do a little walkthrough and look at the things that are growing. You know, normally at this time, we are harvesting a lot of beans. We are harvesting a lot of squash. We are eating heavily from our garden, and this year that hasn't been the case. Although I'm eating things that we have put up, we are just now starting to eat from the garden. We've had our first beans from the garden yesterday, and so you know, there's, well, potatoes. I have gotten potatoes, although those have been curing and we haven't eaten those yet. And I have pulled up carrots, and so those are 2 things that we have had. Haven't actually eaten the potatoes yet, but we do have them. Artichokes, they loved the rain. Even the ones that we transplanted put out fruit this year, which surprised us. We really didn't expect that, but They did, and a lot of it has gone to flowering because they have beautiful, beautiful flowers. And then once the flower is gone, there are seeds. We did start our original artichoke from seed, so you can do that. Although it took, we started from seed, and it took about 3 years to actually get fruit on that first artichoke. But taking the pups as we did, they fruited the first season. So there's that. Once you have your first artichoke going and you take your pups, it looks like they're going to fruit right off the bat. But they did love the rain, and they've been growing like crazy. And so there are things that love the rain, and then there's things that really don't like their roots wet. And so let's walk around. Now, this is the lamb's quarter, and I did not plant this year. It has come back by itself. And last year the lamb's quarter was right over here where I have tomatoes this year. Where the wind blew the seeds was here, and now I have bunches of seeds from last year. I mean, when I was talking about lamb's quarter and I talked about how many seeds that it put out, I mean, that was no joke. Thousands upon thousands of seeds, and I've given away quite a bit. So I am spreading the lamb's quarters. Now, these are beans, are runner beans that are normally producing really like crazy, but they are just now starting to put out, and so that will be a late start. These are things that are going to seed. This is lettuce. I let it go to seed, and I let it drop the seeds where they are, because these come back every year all by themselves. I don't have to plant. This is my walking stick kale, and it has gone to seed. I'm getting ready as soon as I get through with this video to get all that up, and I have things that I will be planting here. I actually have walking stick kale in the sunroom that I have planted out or growing up, and a few of them will go in this area, but I'm going to put them throughout the garden. Over here is some of our squash, and it is starting to do really good. It's putting out fruits like crazy. I mean, not fruits, but it's putting out the flowers. And actually right now it looks like on this the flowers are all male, so hopefully we'll get some female really soon. Here is the longevity spinach, and it is growing, but that is something that didn't particularly care for the rain. Last year at this time it was really big. The society garlic, it's growing really good. The rain hasn't phased it at all. Now these are the tomatoes, and you can see the yellowing on the leaves. That is because of nutrition, and I'm working through that, hoping that I can kick them back into gear and everything will be fine. They have buds on them. These are little cranberry tomatoes. See how tiny those are? They're like little cranberries, but they're just great for when you're working in the garden and you want to just pop some in your mouth. Those are great. And see, we are producing, but they are stressed, and I want to take care of that. This is a custard squash, and that is something that I had to replant because first ones didn't do real good. This is basil. I plant that near my tomatoes. Helps deter bugs, insects. You know, when planting, you just think of things that cook well together. And tomato and basil definitely go well together. This is some of my flowers coming back from last year. So that's a benefit from planting certain flowers. Another longevity spinach just starting to take hold. Squash, and you can see I am getting some squash finally, and I'm very happy. This is a new asparagus bed. doing good. A new fig, and these are dwarf figs, and they're supposed to be white figs. We shall see once they come up. Now, something that I have been dealing with because of all the rain that I don't deal with as much, and that is insects. We have been having a lot of problems with insects. And you can see my cabbage from the cabbage worm has just been decimated. And yeah, I have left them here because I would rather them eat up the ones that they've already started on than something else. And you can see I've got damage here. One of the things that has really been going through are white flies. I've never had that problem before, but this year I am having that issue, white flies. One of my transplanted artichokes put out a bunch of artichokes. You can see where I've taken off. I have taken off quite a few, and I still have some coming out. So I'll still get artichokes off of this, so that's good. Corn is doing really, really good. The grapes are doing good. They have been bothered this year by insects, and I'm sure it's the white flies, but I've got grapes coming on. Grapes all through, so I will get grapes. And this, I believe, yes, this is the Cherokee corn. All the corn this year my grandchildren have planted. Potatoes, one of the little pear tomatoes, and this was here last year, and I just let it go wild because they do get huge. Now these are a different type of sweet potato, and they're doing really, really good. Really, really good. I've got bell peppers starting to come on. Now the okra is starting to come out and do good. They like the heat. They didn't like the rain. So they didn't start growing right off the bat. This is some of the corn that the kids have planted. It's got quite a few ears on it. It's a smaller corn than the other. Black-eyed peas. Now this was one of the potato patches. When I harvested it, I planted the black-eyed peas. The first ones that I planted were back behind the corn here, and 2 came out. The rest of them just turned to mush. And this little area, it's got basil around, but right in the center is a Tulsi, which is a perennial basil. And I have that in several places throughout the garden. I have some pepper plants just starting to come up. These were the first pepper plants that we planted. And you can see we need to clean the bed out because, tell you what, with all this rain, the weeds have gone crazy. This is our celery. That's something that the rain did not bother, was the celery. It did, however, affect my rosemary. Looks like I'm gonna have to take out about half of this, but it will put back out, so that's okay. I've got some black beans coming up here, and the wild corn salad. Now this stuff grows year-round. We ate on this all winter. Gotten some, see how it makes these tiny little purple flowers. Then they die back and you get a bunch of little seeds in there, and you can either put it around where you already have it, or you can put it throughout your garden. I have it in 3 other places because this has a watermelon aftertaste, and I love it. I love it. This is just a small patch of speckled limas. Some more squash. Now, I grow a lot of squash because I love squash. This is cantaloupe. Another squash. This is a different type of zucchini. It's the first year that I've grown this. And I'll be testing that soon. And here's some okra. Now this okra back here is going to be some good strong okra. But you can see this all planted at the same time. This is having a really rough time of it. It's not doing really good with the water. So this is the pawpaw corn, and we've got a few ears on it. And you know, the corn isn't doing that great this year, but that's okay. This was something that the grandkids planted, and anything that they get off of it will be great for them. We'll have plenty of corn. I don't eat a lot of corn anyway. I have stomach issues. I've talked to you before about being diagnosed with Crohn's, and which is what started me growing my own food. And it's been a challenge for me. I should already be eating from my garden, and I am eating greens from my garden. But I would like a little bit more variety. And yes, I can go to the store, and I do have access to organic food, which is all that I want to eat. This is a Japanese cucumber. I've never grown it before. You can see how it's climbing on the ground, and we're just going to let it do that and see what it is and how it tastes, and if we like it. If we do, we'll let some of them age on the vine and get some good seeds. Now, these are my Armenian cucumbers, and that is my favorite cucumber. Those are the best things. If you pick them when they're, just ripe, you can, they make the best, crispiest pickles that you've ever had. If you let it get really ripe on the vine, they're more like a melon. So, really good things. This is, I can't remember the name of this cucumber. They're my seeds, and I've had them for quite a while, but they make the normal cucumbers that you would normally find pickled. Squash. Yeah, this has got to be replaced. It makes noise like crazy. There's some carrots that I need to get up, and some garlic. No, actually, those are onions. Got some onions there. Some carrots that I need to get up, and this is my pak choi. Doing awesome. Rain hasn't seemed to affect it, although some of the bugs have. Now look, right here amongst the pak choi, I have got some of the New Zealand spinach coming in. Now that had to be seeds that blew in the air or the birds brought. I will be pulling that up and putting it in a different spot because I don't want it in this bed. Don't want it in this bed. This one we've cleared out from the winter, and we have some things like the red vein sorrel. I do have some beets here, and these are fresh planted. These weren't from the winter. I've got the I'm not sure if that's Good King Henry or if that's the corn salad, but whatever it is, it gives me greens all the time. It's awesome. And then I have this carrot that we have allowed to go to seed so that I'll have seeds for next year. Swiss chard, that has also gone to seed. And my New Zealand spinach, which I love. This is the area where I said the water pools, and normally that's good for the tomatoes because you know the water will come down here, it'll water them in really, really good, and then I don't have to water for a while. But that's not the way it's working out right now. They don't like all the water. But my blackberries, there's my deal. It's doing good. This is watermelon growing in this little corner. My blackberries are going crazy. I'm going to have a wonderful harvest from the blackberries. That one over there is twice as full as this one. And I've had some that have migrated out through the garden area, but what I have done is dug it up and planted it back in the chicken run because they will like that. This is a tree kale, and the bugs are liking it. We just keep doctoring it and hoping that we can get rid of it. We're using the neem oil with Dr. Bronner's. These are the sunchokes. Now these are the white sunchokes, and they're doing really, really good. In front of these we will have turnip greens. There's some more tomatoes, and these look like they're starting to perk up and take hold. I have more beets right here, and then back behind are my Japanese mustard greens, and you can see they're starting to peek through all over. That's awesome. Now once these come up real good, I will be bringing some straw and putting it around. This is my Egyptian spinach, and I have a huge patch of it, and it probably needs thinned out, but you know what, I'm just going to let it go. The strong ones will survive, the others will put nutrient into the ground. I did not plant this. This is all from seed that dropped, and if you watch that video, you know that I brought in hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of seeds. This is another thing that will give you thousands of seeds. You plant one plant and you will have abundance of this forever, and it is one of the healthiest things that you can eat. This is something that didn't like the rain. This was my sage. It was a huge, beautiful plant. Took over from here to here, and it was just beautiful. But sage doesn't like a lot of rain, doesn't like a lot of water, which is why it's a good plant for Texas, but not this year. And that was about, I think that was about a 3-year-old sage bush. And I am getting cucumbers. I see them coming up there, so that's awesome. I'll be picking cucumbers before long. More squash, and this is the Lakota. It's another thing. Last year it was the first time. 3 of them have made it. I had about 6 planted on there. I wanted it to take over this cage here, but 3 of them have survived, and I should get some really good squash out of those 3. My pomegranate. You know, this pomegranate did the strangest thing. You know, when we first got it, it was a little sprig of a thing, and it bushed out like this one did, and grew like crazy. Didn't put out any fruit the first year. Second year, last year, put out a lot of fruit. This year, died down to the ground and it's coming back out. And I'm just wondering, is this the type of pomegranate that does that? If you know anything about this, let me know. It's the only pomegranate I have. It's the only time I've ever grown it. So, you know, I don't know anything about it. If you do, let me know. These are my goji berries. And I'm starting to get goji berries. It's funny because they're just coming back to life. And, oh, very, very good. Very good. I love goji berries. And I will harvest. The more you harvest, the more they put out. And I will eat all I can. And then I bag up the rest and I put them in my smoothies during the winter. Here, tomatoes. Some are not doing good. Some are. That one I need to prop up. This is my original asparagus plant. Did a video on this last year because it really took me a lot to get it going. And what happened this year is a lot of these little asparagus came out. And I could have harvested them and ate them, but I chose not to because what I wanted it to do was to grow. And you can see right there another one, another shoot just coming out. But I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to let it grow. Another fig. More tomatoes. And these I am getting tomatoes off of. Another society garlic. And these flowers are very good in your salads, as well as the leaves themselves. This is some of my red Aztec spinach. I had one plant last year, got a bunch of seeds. So this year I've got a few growing here, but that's only because they didn't make it. I planted the whole fence line with them. This group right here is the only one that survived through the rain. So, and I got beans growing and coming out. And this is another Jerusalem artichoke or sunchoke, whichever one you want to call it. This is the red ones. The red ones. This is the tree that we pruned on video. And some were concerned that concerned about our pruning, which we do all the time. And this little limb right here, I thought, well, you know, when the season's over, we're going to take that out. But let me show you. My grandbabies like it because they can get right up to it and they'll be able to harvest. But you can see just from this, look how many plums are on this one tree. Look at this. And this is because of the way we pruned. We have an abundance. This is why we prune. And it's all up in there. This is why we prune. It makes your tree happier for one thing. And you can see up at the top, it puts back out, which is why I said, you know, if you feel like you've made a mistake, don't worry about it. It's gonna grow back out and you'll be able to correct that. This is the peach tree. Now peaches we thin out a bit because we do want to get larger peaches, but we have quite a bit of peaches in there also. Another thing that loved the rain is this elderberry. Now, if you watched us take this down, we took it hip high to me. And I'm about 5'3", so, you know, hip high to me. and it has grown like crazy, but because of all the rain, we are going to have an awesome harvest. Little berries are just starting to come on. We're past the flower stage. This one's half and half flowers, half berries. So we're going to have a great elderberry harvest because the ones that we transplanted are putting out also. These are daylilies. I don't know if you know this about daylilies, but they're edible. You can put the little flowers. A lot of people will cook with them, but you can take the petals, put them in your salad. Very good. Very, very good. Very nutritious. Now this bed is kind of going crazy because with all the rain, I'm having trouble getting up in here. This is the lamb's ear, and it has grown like crazy. I am going to take some of it and transplant it around because it does grow like crazy. It is edible, although I really don't eat it, but it is edible. So if worst came to worst, I could eat my lamb's ear. There's the eucalyptus, and you can see that now it's just now kind of coming into a new growth spurt. But you can see the leaves, which should be a deep green, like those right there. You can see they're kind of yellowing, so it didn't like the rain. It's my favorite tree with these purple flowers that will just take over, and the smell from this lilac tree is just awesome. Banana trees are coming back in real good. Pawpaw trees are coming to life. Fig. Yes, I love figs, so I have more fig trees than I do just about anything. The turmeric is starting to come out. This bed should be full of turmeric. Kale. This one's going to seed. Another fig tree. This kale's going to seed. I'll let it do so. And I'm going to let the seeds just drop where they are. I have some new kale coming in. Need to clean this bed. Echinacea's coming out, just starting to flower. The ones around front are already flowering. This is the water spinach, which definitely loves the rain. But I put it in a container this year. Last year I had it planted with the banana trees, and it grows like crazy, and I had to constantly harvest to keep it off the trees because I don't want it growing up my banana trees. And now some told me, you ought to let it, nature will do that. Well, probably, but I'm not. This is an area I've planted quite a bit of comfrey here. I use a lot of comfrey. I put it around all my trees, and I'll put it like under my goji berries, and it's not just for the nutrition that it gives, but it's a great ground cover. So it's a natural ground cover. So I grow comfrey as a chop and drop. And I'm going to be clearing out this bed here of the grass and planting other things here because I don't like the grass. You can see how it's creeping into my garden here. And this is a whole new garden bed that y'all watched us create last year. So we're just getting it established. Unlike the back part, which is very much established. And these two trees are probably going to come down. They're cherry trees. They've been in the ground for 8 or 9 years. This one even is not doing good, and I blame that on the rain. But they're not giving me fruit, so I think they're just not for this area. So they're probably coming up. Nectarine tree. It's small, no fruit this year. But, oh, actually, a story. There is a couple of nectarines on there. 2. 2 nectarines to be exact. Another nectarine. tree, and this is the first year for it to fruit. It does have fruit on it. And the same about my apricot tree. It fruited this year. Now, we are traditionalists in the sense that the first year's fruit you do not eat. It's kind of an offering. You let the birds take it, whatever, but you don't eat it. And so we will not be eating that. Nice little spider right there. Get out in that garden and eat my aphids and stuff. Herb garden. Some things going to seed. Parsley just starting to come back in. Oregano just taken over. And I am fixing to be pulling up most of this oregano. Which, you know, if you know anything about oregano, you can pull it all up. It's going to come back anyway. I got some borage back there that it's drowning out, and I want my borage. So I'm going to be moving this all to a different area. In fact, on the side of the house, my plumeria is fixing to bloom. I love plumerias. This is my kumquat, and I've got tiny little kumquats all over it. And this is a sweet kumquat. If you get a kumquat, you've got to make sure what type you're getting. This is a mandarin orange. More plumerias. This is the little garden that Asher built. And his tomatillas are in bloom and putting on fruit. The one beside kind of died back, but then it's coming back out. So that's good. Planted some basil in here, and he's got an eggplant in here, which looks like it's fruiting. And then there's something up front, and I'm not sure what that is. But this is my grandson, who's 8 years old. And if you watch our channel, you saw him start this. This is where we had wood sitting. And we moved it from here over to there, because we moved the cooker over. And he saw bare ground. Now, we had not intended on making a garden here, but he saw bare ground and wanted to plant, and I was not going to tell him no. Here's another artichoke just waiting to get in the ground. Another peach tree, peaches all over it. And that's a new one. We put that in last year. Our olive tree, which is a bush right now. This is a new little garden that we built. This is where I put the tomatoes that we had put in containers, and it's got tomatoes, you can see. It's got tomatoes on it and blooms all over. And there's some peppers that we put in containers over there. And then, you know, different basils and thyme. There in the back, that's another one of the Tulsi. A different type of garlic. I think it's called a silver garlic. You can see that it's small, so it's going to be something like the society garlic. And this is a jumbo jalapeno my brother sent me. And this is a tree my brother gave me. It was a wild one that started in his yard, and he dug it up because he won't just kill a tree. He'll dig them up and plant them. He put it in a bucket. It's grown up. This year it got fruit on it, kind of like the mulberry. And I wish I had some to show you, but there wasn't a whole lot of fruit on it, and he ate every bit of it. But he gave it to me to plant. But the leaves are different than our mulberry that we have, because our mulberry is kind of like a, you know, shaped like that. So if you know what type of tree this is, this little berry tree here, let me know. This is another one of the Tulsi, which is the perennial basil. A couple of my lemongrass. And some of my Aunt Lorraine's crimson lilies. I love those. Those are the most beautiful things when they bloom. So I hope you've enjoyed the walk through the garden, looking at things that are doing good, things that are doing bad. And I hope that you know, if you are in these areas where you've gotten so much rain. Now, there are some areas that are flooded and towns are underwater, and that is so sad, and I pray for those people in that community. But if you're like me and you've just gotten a lot of rain, if you've just been inundated with the rain, don't let it discourage you. Replant. Got to get out there and pamper your stuff and replant. And I don't mind doing that because, you know, for the most part, my garden is so well established and so many things are perennials. That is something that I really work hard for, are my perennials, so that you do less and less work every year. And but then there's a lot of things like my squash. I love squash and I'm gonna plant it, but you know, if you let squash just lay on the ground, next year it's gonna come up. Same with your cantaloupes, same with your watermelon. You might just bust one in place. It's something we've done. We've had cantaloupe come up that we did not plant. So hope you're having a good garden season. I hope things are starting to come to life for you like they are for me. Now, I've watched quite a few videos where people have just seemed to have all kinds of things growing and going on, and that is awesome. They're obviously in an area, unlike mine, that has not gotten the rain that I've gotten. So, good gardening. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have not subscribed, please do. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.